Hello, my lovely peaches. How are you? Let me make myself a little bigger just for the intro. Hello. This is going to be a pretty quick video because I just wanted to say Justin finally filed his lawsuit against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds and individual Leslie Sloan and individual and Vision PR Inc., a New York corporation. And those are the defendants. And I am excited to read this. I was waiting for it. However, as you can see here, it is 179 pages. And I am tired at the moment. It is, you can see up here, it's Thursday, January 16th, almost 8 o'clock. And this is very long, and I am looking forward to reading it. So I saw Emily D. Baker was reading some of it, and then I actually kind of got a sense that she may be biased towards in favor of Blake, although I only listened briefly, but her little side quips and the qualifying things that she was saying.
And I'm just popping in to say, actually, I love and adore Emily D. Baker. She's one of my favorite YouTubers. I am a member on her page. I've been a member on her page for more than a year. So I just want to say that while it's true that as I was listening to the very, very first few minutes of Emily's reading of this lawsuit, I got a sense that she might be leaning towards Blake for now. I just want to say I have zero doubt that Emily will be able to discern the truth and that she's not a biased person. I was just saying that because I really wanted to read this lawsuit on my own and not just listen to other people read it who may or may not have biases. So I have a bias towards Justin, and I'm being very transparent about that as I read this lawsuit. And I just wanted to say I love Emily, and I don't think she's a biased person overall. I just think that going into this, she may be biased for now on Blake's side, where I am biased for now on Justin's side. And I could even be wrong about that because I didn't even listen to the whole thing she did. I just felt like I'm going to do my own because that's what I wanted to do before the lawsuit even dropped. So I just wanted to add that. Okay, back to reading.
And a lot of the comments in the chat gave me a feeling that she may be biased in Blake's favor, and I am biased in Justin's favor. So that's just my disclosure. So what I was thinking I would do is just do a series of videos where I read parts, and then when I get to, the part where I feel like I have to stop, then that's where I'll stop, and then I'll go back and I will, continue on the next one. Kind of like I did with some of the letters the emails that Donald Adelson had written, and I read several of them, and I made a little series and a playlist out of it. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you have any interest in this case and you want my perspective, the reason that I decided I want to do it myself is because, as I said, other people have their own biases, and they put their commentary in. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my commentary. That sounded like a law nerd quick bit where these law nerd app updates, and it says Justin sues Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million. So another reason why I can't make them too long is because the way I'm doing it, the videos get real big, and then my computer can only handle so much. So that's that. So maybe I can start reading a little bit. I am also in the middle assisting my son with making some dinner. Okay, so 179 pages. Justin Baldoni lawsuit. Justin Baldoni sues Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million. This is the case, and the document number filed today, January 16th, 2025, page 1 of 179. United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Wayfarer Studios, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, Justin Baldoni, an individual, Jamie Heath, an individual, It Ends With Us Movie, LLC, a California limited liability company, Melissa Nathan, an individual, and Jennifer Abel, an individual, plaintiffs. Against Blake Lively, an individual, Ryan Reynolds, an individual, Leslie Sloan, an individual, and Vision PR Inc., a New York corporation, the defendants. And this is a civil action complaint. So let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Let's see if I do one more zoom. There's somebody talking. I just heard a neighbor outside saying, shocked by the charges that you have. Law nerd. All right. So, plaintiffs, Wayfarer Studios, LLC, a Delaware limited liability company, Justin Baldoni, an individual, Jamie Heath, an individual, It Ends With Us Movie, LLC, a California limited liability company, Melissa Nathan, an individual, and Jennifer Abel, an individual, a California limited liability company, collectively plaintiffs, bring their claims for damages against Blake Lively, an individual, Ryan Reynolds, an individual, Leslie Sloan, an individual, and Vision PR Inc., a New York corporation, and allege as follows. So it's $400 million, but it's between 1, 2, 3, 4 people and a production company and a movie. So, when you think about breaking it down, it's like not even anyway, we'll see. Okay. Page 2. Introduction. The following is not a story plaintiffs ever wish to tell. Unfortunately, defendant Blake Lively has unequivocally left them with no choice, not only to set the record straight in response to Lively's accusations, but also to put the spotlight on the parts of Hollywood that they have dedicated their careers to being the antithesis of. That task was always going to be an uphill battle. They never imagined they would encounter it to this degree. Had Lively chosen to merely ride out the self-inflicted press catastrophe, she faced in August of 2024, the public would have likely moved on and never known the truth about her. They would have never known that she deliberately and systematically robbed plaintiffs Justin Baldoni, and Wayfarer Studios, LLC, Wayfarer, of their movie. No one except the parties involved would have known that she used threats and extortion to relegate the colleagues she once highly praised to a basement to sit out their own premiere while she enjoyed the spotlight of a premiere and an after party that was ultimately co-financed by both Wayfarer and Sony. She would have gotten away with these things and more because Baldoni focused entirely on seeing the film succeed would have held his tongue as he had through the year and a half that Lively tormented him, his family, and his partners. But Lively could not tolerate her publicly tainted image for even a moment, and further, could not accept that it was entirely of her own making. She needed a scapegoat, and rather than admit and take accountability for her own mishaps, she chose to blame plaintiffs in a malicious and unforgivably public manner. When she and Reynolds could not force Baldoni and Wayfarer to read a statement she and her representatives prepared, exhorting them to, quote, take accountability, quote, in defense of Lively's actions, she lay in wait for months, preparing to publicly attack Baldoni by falsely claiming that he had SH'd her. The same falsified stories she, page 3, had calculatingly devised and used throughout. When she and Reynolds could not force Baldoni and Wayfarer to read a statement she and her representatives prepared, exhorting them to, quote, take accountability in defense of Lively's actions, she lay in wait for months, preparing to publicly attack Baldoni by falsely claiming that he had SH'd her. The same falsified stories she had calculatingly devised and used throughout the production of this film in order to take control were now being used publicly to destroy Baldoni and plaintiffs. 4. Lively stole Wayfarer's movie, hijacked Wayfarer's premiere, destroyed plaintiffs' personal and professional reputations and livelihood, and aimed to drive plaintiffs out of business entirely. It further appears that Lively worked for months with the equally powerful New York Times to prepare a false and damaging narrative to deploy against plaintiffs. Not surprisingly, Lively prepared an administrative complaint with the Civil Rights Department in California, the CRD complaint, in an attempt to use the litigation privilege to shield her behind-the-scenes conspiracy with the New York Times, but upon information and belief, the CRD complaint was filed only after defendants spent months feeding falsehoods to the New York Times, intending that they be disseminated to damage plaintiffs. These are some very long run-on sentences. Lively delivered the CRD complaint to plaintiffs over the Christmas holiday like a fucking bitch ass. Edits my own. And rather than promptly file a lawsuit, Lively, on information and belief, had leaked the typically private CRD complaint to the public, utilizing the New York Times as a conduit for her revenge. This CRD complaint, and upon information and belief, the false information delivered to the New York Times before the CRD complaint was filed, was rife with lies and doctored, quote, evidence. Lively then waited 11 days to file suit against plaintiffs in what seemed to be a desperate move after the public questioned why she had never filed a civil lawsuit. On information and belief, Lively never intended to file a lawsuit, which would have triggered plaintiffs' right to discovery, including obtaining evidence and disposing Lively under oath. by the time Lively actually followed a lawsuit against plaintiffs, the damage to plaintiffs was done by virtue of Lively's months of colluding with the New York Times on a false and malicious narrative, unshielded by any privilege. Make no mistake, these actions were deliberate. It's the end of page 3. Let me see. I gotta go check on the dinner. Continuing, like I said, I'm gonna make this one short. Number 5. We are at the top of page 4. Plaintiffs now have no choice but to fight back, armed only with the truth and the mountain of concrete evidence disproving Lively's allegations. Heartbreakingly, a film that Baldoni envisioned years ago would honor the survivors of domestic violence by telling their story with the lofty goal of making a positive impact in the world has now been overshadowed beyond recognition solely as a result of Lively's actions and cruelty. 6. Lively wields immense power as one of the world's best-known celebrities. In 2024, she used that power to seize control of the film It Ends With Us, the film. Produced and co-financed by plaintiff Wayfarer and directed by Baldoni, who also portrayed the lead, Ryle. She set out to destroy plaintiffs' livelihoods and businesses if they did not bend to her incessant demands. And when they refused to give way, she did exactly that, accusing them of foul and reprehensible sexual misconduct. Wayfarer was blindsided when Lively, upon the conclusion of the industry strikes, refused to return to production, absent the company's agreeing to her non-negotiable, quote, protections for return to production, quote, the return to production demands. That insinuated misconduct had occurred during filming, which, as evidence will establish, did not. Wayfarer was equally blindsided when Lively leveraged this document, essentially signed under duress, to seize control of the film, ultimately getting her own cut of the film and a coveted PGA mark, and at her command, ousting Baldoni from all marketing and promotional efforts, with many of the cast members and the author, all of whom he, until then, had long-standing positive relationships with. Lively's exclusion of Baldoni from the promotion of the film backfired, as she chose to callously promote her hair care and alcoholic beverage products rather than bring attention to survivors of domestic violence, the entire premise of the film. Baldoni, now prohibited from, page 5, attending events or taking photos with Lively and the cast, promoted the film as he had always intended, ever since he first began the process of making the film years ago. And we're on page 5. 8. When Lively faced significant public backlash from what was often referred to as her tone-deaf, quote, tone-deaf, and insensitive press tour for the film, she doubled down on her false and misleading accusations against Baldoni. She seemed determined to make Baldoni the real-life villain in her story. Her publicist, Leslie Sloan, went so far to propagate malicious stories portraying Baldoni as a sexual predator, a term Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, also used to describe Baldoni when he called Baldoni's own agent. Modern society justly reviles sexual harassers and abusers, and Lively knew full well that making these allegations would be a career death sentence for the plaintiffs, especially given that Baldoni has lived his private and public life as an impassioned advocate for gender equality and healthy masculinity. She did not expect, however, the plaintiffs would be able to meet those allegations with concrete documentary evidence disproving her claims and demonstrating that they, not Lively, were the targets of a calculated and vitriolic smear campaign. That evidence, included in part herein, is the basis for the plaintiffs' claims against defendants for their extortion, defamation, and further wrongdoing. 9. The film was the hotly anticipated adaptation of a worldwide best-selling book by Colleen Hoover, and by starring in it as Lily, Lively stood to enhance her already considerable star power. But she was not content merely to headline one of the year's biggest movies. Instead, apparently driven by overweening ambition and a need for control, Lively eventually leveraged her power as a wealthy... Hold on, I'm recording myself.
Water's boiling. Take the water.
Yeah, hold on, let me finish this page.
Please just cut it now then.
Careful. Interruptions by my child secretary over here. I also have to leave in a couple minutes.
Sorry.
My goodness. Oh, where was I? Instead, apparently driven by overweening ambition, I don't know what that word is, and a need for control, Lively eventually leveraged her power as a wealthy celebrity to wrest the reins from her co-star and the film's director, Baldoni, insisting on total control over every aspect of the film she could get her hands on, from wardrobe. Now I'm going to go back and read this need for control, and there's this footnote 1. In an early meeting with Baldoni, Lively foreshadowed what was to come, stating, quote, "I'm afraid you have too much power," referencing Baldoni's dual role as producer and director. This statement made an early impact on Baldoni, who felt compelled to reassure her the relationship would be collaborative and went above and beyond to make it so. This was not an invitation to sideline him and his producing partners. All right, and that's the... Oh, let me finish this one, this number 9. Lively eventually leveraged her power as a wealthy celebrity to wrest the reins from her co-star and the film's director, Baldoni, insisting on total control over every aspect of the film she could get her hands on, from wardrobe to marketing strategy to music, even creating her own cut of the film. Not only did Lively's power play cost numerous people their jobs, but at every turn, her wrong-headed, creative decisions reflected her fundamental lack of understanding of the book the film was based on. This came as no surprise to her worried colleagues, given that, even well into production, Lively had not even read the book. September 14th, 2023, message from Baldoni to Heath that we are rooting to see her fulfill. After rereading the book, which had 150 pages to build their relationship, we have combined scenes to heighten the stakes for Ryle in pursuit of Lily, utilizing humor and his desire to sleep with her. While I understand Blake's reasons for not wanting to read the book does a very good job in getting in Lily's mind during her interactions with Ryle and setting up the why behind her attraction to him, which ultimately helps us understand why she stays in the end. Was that something she changed?
I just checked out USA Today's article. What's the biggest difference between the It Ends With Us book and the movie? Perhaps the most significant change between the book and the movie is how Lily perceives Ryle's abuse. Through a series of quick cuts and deceptive camera angles, the film plays on Lily's uncertainties.
Did Ryle actually mean to strike her after burning his hand, or was that just an accident? So she's continually in denial until the movie's final third, when the disturbing montage shows her husband's assaults as they really happened. But in the book, Ryle's misconduct is not a gradual realization for Lily. Instead, she calls him out after each incident and warns him that she'll leave him the next time he abuses her. So the first time she tries to leave him after her violent fall, but then chooses to forgive him, who's traumatized by his brother's death. She reasons there's good in him, that he can still change, but later when he tries to grape her, she lands in the hospital. She decides she's had enough. The ending of the movie is different than the novel, where the book draws out their breakup with Ryle as he flees to Europe for 3 months, and she confronts him upon his return. "I wish this baby wasn't yours," she says angrily. And they eventually agree to divorce, and the novel ends with a scene of Ryle and Lily amicably co-parenting just before she rekindles her flame with Atlas. And then there was some discrepancy. She was a lot older than the book, and but they defended it, saying that fans of It Ends With Us were initially miffed by Lively's casting. After all, Lily is described as having red hair and fair skin in the book, whereas Lively is unequivocally blonde, bleached blonde, a fact that the movie can hardly disguises. Also, Lily is 23 and Ryle is 30 when the novel starts, while in the movie both characters are in their mid-30s. However, Baldoni and Hoover recently defended aging up the characters, saying it would naturally take a long time for Ryle to become a prominent board-certified neurosurgeon, and they wanted Lily to be someone with life experience who is comfortable and confident in herself by the time she meets Ryle. I've heard people say, "Why wouldn't you just leave? Why would she stay?" Baldoni told Variety magazine, quote, "We know that the abuse happens to women of all ages, but it also happens to powerful women. It happens to very strong women. It happens to affluent women." And here's a domestic violence resource in case you need help. Please call this number, 800-799-7233, and you can also call 988. That's an emergency hotline in the United States.
10. Lively's disastrous marketing efforts and the tone-deaf press interviews and appearances backfired and led to widespread criticism of Lively's promotional approach to the film's highly sensitive focus on domestic violence. Past videos of Lively resurfaced online, videos that appeared to solidify public perception that Lively was an insensitive, quote, mean girl who cared more about peddling her products than acknowledging the domestic violence survivor community. Social media commenters quickly pointed out that her tie-in of her alcohol beverages was in particularly poor taste, given the World Health Organization estimates that 55% of domestic violence incidents are linked to alcohol. Unbelievably, Lively made this harmful and irresponsible message worse. But, oh God, by naming a drink at her premiere after party, Ryle, you wait. After the character who committed domestic violence in the film. The suggestion that Wayfarer caused the online backlash against her is absurd. Absurd, given the evidence of her own insensitivity. And then this footnote number 2, where was that from? I lost it, but let's see. Lively later claimed she read the book, but so it was up here. She had not even read the book. Okay. Lively later claims she read the book, but text evidence shows that well into production she had not, and in fact expressed that she had chosen not to read the book. She even tried to Google the color of her character's hair rather than pick up the book. All right, I gotta get going to pick up my son, and the food is gonna be done in a minute. So I'm gonna leave that here. I finished at the end of page 6, so we only have 173 more pages to go. So if you're interested in following along with me reading this, like I said, this is going to be a series of videos. I'm going to make a playlist because there's no way I'm going to be able to read, all of this in one sitting or even in 2 sittings. So I'm not even going to attempt to do that. I'm just going to read what I can. Like I said, I will start back where I left off. So for my own reference, I finished at the bottom of page 6 and start up at page 7 at number 11 in the next one. All right, join me. Don't forget to hit like, share this video if you know anybody interested in this case. Please subscribe to my channel. It helps out so much. And also, join me. I have a YouTube channel, which is what you're watching. I didn't mean to say that. I have a Patreon, which is the same name as this YouTube channel, Cat Love Dreaming Peach. And I have a website, which is catlovedreamingpeach.com. Join me there. And if you want to see me dancing and stretching, you can join me on my other YouTube channel, Cat Dancing and Stretching. Okay, see you later. Bye.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.
Fucking crook. I don't know.
catlovedreamingpeach.com.